You're scrolling when the ad appears. This week's jackpot, $500 million. For a second, you stop, because $500 million is not just money. It is the end of every problem you can name. Your debts are gone. Your mortgage is paid. Your parents never have to worry about money again, and your children can study anywhere they want. You can buy the house you have been saving on your phone for years, the one with the enormous kitchen, the swimming pool, and enough rooms for everyone you love. You can replace the car that keeps breaking down, travel without checking the price of every flight, and walk into a restaurant without calculating the bill in your head. You can help your brother, rescue your friend, and pay for the treatment, the wedding, the business, or the dream that always seemed too expensive. And tomorrow morning, you do not have to wake up to an alarm. You do not have to ask permission to take a day off or smile at a manager you hate. You can finally breathe. You start imagining the moment the numbers appear, the shock, the phone calls, your family crying, and the people who ignored you suddenly remembering your name. Your entire life splits into two parts: before the ticket and after it. Then the ad ends. You are still sitting in the same room. The bills are still on the table, the debt is still in your name, and tomorrow's alarm is still set. But for those few minutes, none of that felt permanent. Your life felt open, changeable, and almost solved. And that is the real product. The lottery is not really selling you money. It is selling you a temporary version of your life in which money has already fixed everything. The ticket is simply the price of entering that imagination. Because when you buy a lottery ticket, you do not wait until the draw to experience it. The experience begins immediately. The moment the ticket enters your pocket, it transforms. It is no longer a small piece of paper containing a nearly impossible combination of numbers. It becomes a house, a plane ticket, a resignation letter, a hospital bill stamped paid, and a phone call to your parents telling them they can finally retire. Until the winning numbers are announced, nobody can prove that those things are not yours. For a few hours, or sometimes several days, you are not completely trapped inside your current life. There is an exit. It is tiny and almost certainly imaginary, but it exists. This period of anticipation has value by itself. Holding an unresolved lottery ticket allows you to experience hope before reality arrives. In other words, you are not only paying for the possibility of winning, you are paying for the period during which you have not lost yet. That explains something the mathematics alone cannot, because mathematically, the lottery is an astonishingly bad deal. In many major jackpots, your chance of winning is not 1 in 1,000. It is not 1 in a million. It can be 1 in hundreds of millions. Your brain understands the words, but it struggles to feel what they mean. You can imagine one person, 100 people, or maybe even a crowded stadium. But hundreds of millions of separate losing tickets, your mind cannot place them all in the room. So instead, it focuses on something it can picture. The winner! You see the oversized check, the champagne, the smiling family, and the news reporter standing outside the shop where the ticket was sold. You do not see the mountain of losing tickets required to create that one winner. Those people are invisible. And that is not an accident. Lottery advertisements rarely ask you to imagine the most likely outcome. They do not show you buying a ticket, checking the numbers, losing, throwing it away, and continuing your day. Because that would be an advertisement for reality. Instead, they show transformation, a private island, a mansion, a family celebrating, or a person walking away from work forever. The advertisement takes the smallest possible probability and gives it the largest possible image. Once you can see yourself inside that image, the ticket no longer feels like a financial decision. It feels like a key. This is why saying, people play because they are bad at mathematics, misses the deeper point. Many people who buy lottery tickets already know they will probably lose. They are not necessarily confused about the basic deal. They are buying something emotional. You might spend money on a cinema ticket, even though you know the story is fictional. You might pay to enter a theme park, even though the castle is not real. In the same way, you might buy a lottery ticket because for a few hours, it turns your own future into a fantasy. But there is an important difference. A film ends without suggesting that watching another film might rescue you from debt. The lottery's fantasy is attached directly to your real problems. The more pressure you feel, the more powerful that fantasy becomes. When your life is comfortable, the jackpot might represent a larger house or a longer vacation. But when you are drowning in bills, the jackpot represents survival. It represents dignity, sleep, and waking up without fear. When ordinary solutions feel too slow, the impossible solution begins to feel emotionally reasonable. Saving might take years. Paying off debt might take decades. Building a business might fail. Changing careers might require time, education, and energy that you do not have. But the lottery asks for only a few dollars and a few seconds. It offers instant transformation without the long, painful distance between where you are and where you want to be. That is what makes it especially powerful for people who have the least room to lose money. Lottery spending can consume a larger share of income for poorer households, not necessarily because poorer people dream more than wealthy people, but because the fantasy solves more urgent problems. If you already have financial security, winning is an upgrade. If you do not, winning feels like an escape hatch. And the lottery places that escape hatch everywhere. At the supermarket, at the petrol station, on your phone, and beside the place where you pay for food. You can be thinking about rising prices, rent, and debt. And then, within arm's reach, you see a brightly colored promise that all of it could disappear tonight. The contrast is almost perfect. Reality says, you do not have enough. The lottery says, but you could have everything. And the price is deliberately small enough to silence your resistance. It is only a few dollars, less than lunch, less than a movie, and less than the money you waste on other things. That is how the decision is framed. Not as a repeated expense, not as money removed from your future. Just one tiny payment for one enormous possibility. But one ticket rarely stays one ticket. The jackpot grows. You hear that nobody won last week, so the prize becomes larger. More people begin talking about it. Your friends buy tickets, and your coworkers create a group. Suddenly, not buying feels dangerous. Because what happens if they win without you? You know the odds did not suddenly become good, but the imagined regret becomes unbearable. You picture arriving at work on Monday while every person around you is celebrating. So you buy protection against a fantasy. Then the draw happens. You lose. For a moment, the mansion disappears. Your debts return, and the alarm clock comes back. But the loss usually does not feel like losing the full jackpot. It feels like losing only the small cost of the ticket. Because the fantasy felt so much larger than the price, the deal can still seem emotionally worthwhile. Then another jackpot appears, another advertisement, another version of your future. And the cycle begins again. This does not mean buying one ticket for entertainment will destroy your life. When you knowingly spend a small amount because imagining the impossible is fun, you are purchasing entertainment. The danger begins when entertainment quietly becomes strategy. When the ticket stops being a joke and starts becoming your financial plan. When you spend money needed elsewhere because this week feels different. When hope is no longer something the ticket gives you, but something you cannot feel without it. Because hope is powerful. It keeps people moving when circumstances are terrible. It allows you to imagine a life beyond the one directly in front of you. But hope becomes dangerous when someone can repeatedly sell it to you without helping you move any closer to that life. The lottery takes your completely reasonable desire for security, freedom, and relief and attaches it to an event you cannot control. It tells you to look upward at the jackpot instead of forward at the next possible step. And perhaps that is the most profitable part of the entire design. A real financial plan is usually boring. It does not come with flashing lights. There is no dramatic draw, no giant check, and no moment when every problem disappears at once. Real change usually happens slowly. One debt reduced, one skill learned, one emergency fund built, and one bad financial habit removed. None of those things feel like $500 million. But unlike the ticket, they can change your actual odds. So the next time you see a jackpot advertisement, pay attention to what happens inside your mind. Notice how quickly you spend the money, how quickly your problems disappear, and how easily you enter a life that does not exist yet. Enjoy the fantasy, if you choose to, but understand the transaction. You are probably not purchasing wealth. You are purchasing a few days during which wealth feels possible. You are renting an escape from your current life. And when the numbers are finally drawn, the lottery takes that imaginary future back, then offers to sell it to you again next week.